Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is Sir Patrick Mack, your host. We got a couple Q posts to go over and then a little bit of storytelling, and I will let you be on your way. Are you ready? Tie your shoes. Let's go. 11 minutes past the hour of 10, we have a picture, and the post says, "Who is standing next to Pence and POTUS? Message, Bolton cleaning house. Out they go. A clean house is very important." 16 minutes after the hour of 2, we have, at Snowden, yes, testify, then drop. We have it all. These people are stupid. Fireworks. POTUS weekly address. End. Q. And that is all we have, okay? Before I move on to anything, thank you very much for your comments, those of you who have been following my videos. A lot of you were commenting on the Shell companies, not necessarily being Shell Oil, and I got the message. Thank you very much. I get the idea. I just wanted to make sure that I'd done any kind of research on Shell, just in case, because they are an oil company, but I think you tend to be right, and I'm going to go with you guys on that narrative. So thank you very much for that. A lot of you also were saying that the RT means retweet. You could be right as well, too. I'm going to stick with real time, personally, but in that particular post, it still could have been retweet. I don't want to go back over it. It's not a big enough deal, but you could be right. I don't know. Thank you for it, though. Always nice to hear what you have to say. Okay, so let's take you back to this picture right here, and let's blow it up. Boom! There it is. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's a good-looking group, really. Okay, so everybody looks happy. The Oval Office, we got President Trump there. And we got what looks to be Thomas Jefferson on the left and Andrew Jackson on the right. Tell me, folks, anything that you see? Anything of note? Let's look at it. Well, let's go back to the Q post. And Q says, "Who is standing next to Pence and POTUS?" So that's going to be this guy right here. All right, message. Bolton cleaning house. Out they go. A clean house is very important. Okay, with knowing that, let's blow it up again. And here we have this guy right here. And if you folks know, I don't know if it's all of these guys, but if you're seeing these black jackets right here, you're most likely looking at Navy. This guy's a Navy guy. He's a surface warfare guy. There's his surface warfare pin. His name's Admiral Michael Rogers. Admiral Michael Rogers is a native of Chicago and attended Auburn University, graduating in 1981 and receiving his commission via the Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps. Originally a surface warfare officer, he was selected for redesignation to cryptology. Fantastic. Now, information warfare in 1986. He assumed his present duties as commander, U.S. Cyber Command, and Director, National Security Agency / Chief, Central Security Service in March 2014. Since becoming a flag officer in 2007, Rogers has also served as the Director for Intelligence for both the Joint Chiefs of Staff and U.S. Pacific Command, and most recently as Commander, U.S. Fleet, Cyber Command, U.S. 10th Fleet. Okay, there's a little bit more. He's got a great career. He's had a great career. It's Admiral Michael Rogers. A lot of you guys probably already know him there. Okay, so there he is. There he is, just in case you were curious. Now, anybody you don't see? The one guy you don't see. Homeland Security Advisor, you don't see him. Tom Bossert was an ideal Trump administration official, a man with the resume of an establishment Republican and the capacity for a sycophancy of a Trump crony. A former fellow at the Atlantic Council and author of the George W. Bush administration's 2007 National Strategy for Homeland Security, Bossert brought genuine policy expertise and management experience to his role as Homeland Security Advisor, but he also brought a willingness to enthusiastically defend Trump's most controversial actions, including his recent deployment of the National Guard to the southern border, as well as to parrot Trump's views on Russian interference in the 2016 election. In a West Wing beset by chaos and dysfunction, Bossert was regarded as one of the few competent aides still standing. Okay, and this is the NewYorkMag.com. And I just want to read the rest here, a little bit here. And John Bolton just got him fired. Okay, John Bolton, as Homeland Security Advisor, Bossert would have been a subordinate of the incoming mustachioed White House National Security Advisor, and Bolton would prefer to assemble his own team. All right. So you get an idea, and they wish him well, and blah, 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 blah. All right, well, Bolton just came in, and Bolton is evidently cleaning house, and this guy is the first casualty. Okay? Now, I don't really want to talk much about Tom Bossert, but I will tell you this about him. I have a feeling that he's going to be one of these guys, like some others that we may know of, that disappear for a little bit, and it looks kind of like, and we'll see how dirty this guy was or was not, depending on how he resurfaces in the news. I think right now, probably not a lot on him, and maybe nothing at all. But evidently, Bolton is cleaning house, and that is the casualty right there. Well, we got a clean house now. It's a good-looking crew, isn't it? Good-looking crew. As a matter of fact, I would call it the quintessential lineup of qualified candidates of high quality, who for now have quelled the quarrelsome storm. Wouldn't you agree? Let's move on. Okay. Now we're over here, 16 minutes past the hour of 2, at Snowden. Yes. Testify, then drop. We have it all. These people are stupid. Fireworks. POTUS, weekly address. And, okay. Well, Snowden's one of these guys that he's occurred all the way through this. Okay? All the way through this. All this Q stuff. Snowden always pops up. We never really see or hear that much from Snowden himself, but he keeps popping up. Is he our bridge? Is he our bridge with all these social media outlets that are getting busted now? We know who testified today. We're going to talk about him just a little bit, okay? I'm over here on the New York Times, and most of you have seen this, and we're going to watch a little bit of this video if you don't mind. I just want to break down a little bit of body language that I saw. Keep in mind, I'm no expert. I have a little experience, but I'm no expert, okay? But I wanted to tell you some things that I saw, and I think you probably can see this too. It's pretty easy to see. Now, what we're going to break down is just simple 2 questions. We're going to get the first question and the second question. The first question, I just want you to watch it first the first time, and then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
Sharing with us the name of the hotel you stayed in last night?
No.
If you've messaged anybody this week, would you share with us the names of the people you've messaged?
Senator, no, I would probably not choose to do that publicly here.
I think that might be what this is all about.
Okay, there it was. So, 2 questions, right? 2 questions. Now I want to take you back, and I just want to have you look at it, if you will, please, just for fun. Have a little fun with me. Okay, so the first one catches him really, really off guard. And I want you to note that you can see where he's looking right now. Whoever the man is asking questions, I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not looking here. The exact man asking the question at the time. Okay, but you'll notice that after the first question comes, his eyes avert upwards and over a little bit, as if to say, oh my God. And you'll see the panic. He reels it in real quick, and then you watch. I want you to watch his curled lip, sort of on the left side of his lip right here. He sort of curls it in. Okay, just watch this real quick.
Comfortable sharing with us the name of the hotel you stayed in last night?
There's the look and the lip curl.
No.
Okay, right there. We'll stop just for a second. Okay, so somebody else that we knew in the news kind of did that too a lot. I can't say his name because he is one of those Charlie Alphas, but he goes by the way of Delta Helicopter, in case you're curious. All right, he did that too. When they purse their lips like that, they purse it off to the side. It's like literally the kind of thing that they're trying to come out, that's coming out of their mouth. It's not comfortable for them either. Okay, truth flows. When you're speaking truth, it just flows out of your mouth. But when it doesn't, your body will lock up and do weird things. Okay, now thankfully for him, the crowd behind him loosened him up a little bit, okay? This wasn't a raucous crowd. Most of you guys saw this already. Probably most of you guys saw much more of this video than I did, all right? But you get the idea. They loosened him up. Now I want you to watch how he engages the second question. He's ready. He's going to engage it. Even though he's nervous, he's going to give you a different reaction because he didn't like the reaction he just gave. So he's going to give you a better one, and you'll notice that he almost has to hold his breath in order to do it. Here you go.
No.
Second question.
If you've messaged anybody this week, would you share with us the names of the people you've messaged?
Senator, no, I would probably not choose to do that publicly here.
Okay, so there's the acting right there. Okay, you get what's going on. So he testified, and let's face it, it was just softball after softball after softball. Nothing's going to change with this, okay? But what if it were possible that Snowden, we're going about the Q narrative, I don't know, but what if it's possible that Snowden's got something? Why would we let him testify? Okay, let him get the softballs. Let him get the easy questions. Let's face it, these guys, we already know that these guys were questioning him were all recipients of his donations. So of course it's going to be an easy day in the park, even for Zuckerberg. Relatively easy. But What happens if he perjures himself after the fact? Or we've got something. I don't know. But according to Q, they've got it all. These people are stupid. Fireworks. POTUS weekly address. Don't know if he's referring to the one from a couple of days ago. It's about 3 days ago now, which was referring all to the border. Okay, so again, is this all coming down to the border, or is Q referring to the next address that could be coming? Because remember, a couple or just how many back here was it? How often does POTUS either retweet or real time weekly address? You probably could be right. Could be retweet right there. Weekly address. April showers. Well, we don't know. Maybe POTUS is going to do it again. Who knows? Maybe that's it. Maybe we're waiting for the next one. Don't know. But there are your Q posts. Now, if you want to hang with me, I just want to dig a little bit deeper on something that I didn't touch on last night because there were so many Q posts that I just couldn't get to it. And I alluded to it and I reminded you to kind of remember some names, but it's tough to remember all this stuff. And it's most certainly tough for me. But let's take you back because I want to talk about another part of this story. If you watched my video from last night, we talked about the New York Times. We talked about the fire. And I don't want to go on all the fire stuff. We talked about that. But I do want to remind you of a couple things. We're going to talk about this. The commissioner said firefighters went with the Secret Service to inspect the president's residence. Okay, well, that sounds normal enough. Okay. Would seem a little strange if the Secret Service had escorted them into the fire. But checking out the president's residence seems pretty normal protocol to me. While the rest of the building had a considerable amount of smoke, it was not immediately clear if it reached Mr. Trump's unit, he said. Well, Mr. Trump's unit is likely if this happened on the 50th floor, right? 50th. Okay, so there you can see it's on the 50th floor. I'm going to assume Trump's floors are probably the top floors. Why wouldn't they be? Maybe not, but why wouldn't they be? Okay, and we talked about this too. The commissioner said the upper floors that are homes to residencies do not have fire sprinklers. It's a well-built building, he said. The building sure stood up quite well. Well, that is important. It's a well-built building. It's always important to remember that. Now let's take you back down to this. We talked a little bit about this, but this guy, Dennis Shields, a resident who said he lived on the 42nd floor, described the scene. You could smell the smoke and you could hear things falling through like the vents. He said it just smelled like sulfur. He said there were no orders to evacuate, but he received a text message from Mr. Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen. Mr. Shields, who said he grew up with Mr. Cohen, continued. He said, "Are you in the building?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You better get out ASAP. That's how I knew to get out. Otherwise, I'd still be in there." Okay, well, I didn't touch much on this yesterday for good reason. We had plenty to talk about. Otherwise, it was a long video already. But the reason why I want to go back to this is because it seems very, very strange that this guy, Dennis Shields, a resident, he got a text message from Mr. Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen. He said, "You better get out at ASAP." So Michael Cohen, what's going on? Michael, did you know there was going to be a fire in this building? Did you know? I mean, they just went after this guy, Michael Cohen. Let's not go into Michael Cohen yet. Let's go into Dennis. Who's Dennis? I don't know this guy, Dennis Shields. I don't know this guy. Look at this. This is off one of my favorite sites, popculture.com. President Trump warned Bethany Frankel's boyfriend to flee tower fire. Bethany Frankel's boyfriend, Dennis Shields, was in Trump Tower, where he resides, where a fire broke out Saturday that killed a resident and left 4 injured, radar reports. Shield received a personal phone call from President Donald Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen, to get out of the New York high-rise building ASAP, according to his interview with the New York Times. No, according to his interview with the New York Times, he got a text message. Over here, he got a phone call. Now, it could just be mixed up reporting. Found it interesting. He said, "Are you in the building?" I said, "Yes." What did he say, or did he text it? "You better get out ASAP." That's how I knew I'd get out. Otherwise, I'd still be in there. So we remember this. You could smell the smoke and you could hear things falling through the vents, Shields recalled. It just smelled like sulfur. Ugh. Shields added that there were no official orders to evacuate the tower, though some people chose to self-evacuate. Okay, so no official orders to evacuate the tower. So this was supposed to be a really tricky fire, as you can see. This was a very difficult fire, as you can imagine. The apartment is quite large. We are 50 stories up. The rest of the building had a considerable amount of smoke, said New York Fire Department Commissioner Daniel Negro. And folks, I know it's hard to remember things, but I have a feeling this name's going to come up again. Just remember Daniel Negro. Okay, so wait a minute now. You could smell the smoke. You could hear things falling through the vents. It smelled like sulfur. Black smoke and flames billowing out. Debris falling onto Fifth Avenue from a sulfur fire. This was a difficult fire, as you can imagine. All right. I wonder how difficult it was. Well, let me just take you. Where can I find it? Here we go. Quote, we found fire on the 50th floor of the building. The apartment was entirely on fire. Members pushed in heroically. They were knocking down the fire, Negro added. Okay. Do you notice what I see? Here this guy is saying this was a very difficult fire. But then he's saying that members pushed in heroically. They were knocking down the fire. So these guys in Trump Tower, they were heroes. They were knocking down the fire, right? Interesting. How would you knock down a fire? Folks, if you have a blazing fire, all right, which, mind you, started at 5:30 and was finished around 7:45, okay? Not exactly a all-day rager, if you know what I mean. And these people pushed in. They were knocking down the fire. How do you knock down the fire? Well, folks, we talked about sulfur fires, right? Sulfur fire, it's powder. It drops. It doesn't just. It can be a difficult fire for other reasons. Okay, like I said, it's caustic. The fire itself, not particularly. It can be fixed with sprinklers, a nice light mist, or whatever. It's a low burning blue flame. Okay, that's why they were knocking down the fire. Okay, so whatever this was burning, we clearly know it was sulfur. And I just found that very interesting that here's this guy. But so wait a minute now. This guy, Dennis Shields, he was in there, and he's this Frankel's girlfriend. I don't know. The fire was eradicated at 7:45. As for Frankel, the Real Housewife of New York star has yet to speak about the incident on social media, though she is reportedly head over heels in love with Shields. Well, we're all very relieved at that revelation. All right, well, look, folks, this is Bethany Frankel. This is her website. I don't know. She's on the TV show, and she looks like she sells tea that looks super expensive. I don't want to talk about it too much, but let's take you to People magazine. With Valentine's Day just around the corner, Bethany Frankel admits she'll likely be alone on Tuesday night instead of with Dennis Shields, her boyfriend of the past year. All right, well, there he is. He's still in my life, she says. I saw him last week for his birthday, but I'm not ready to settle down. Not now. Not yet. Not with you. Not with you, Dennis. Your place is on fire. How'd you get that call? How'd you get that? Did you get a call or did you get a text? Anyway, that's Dennis. Okay. So I find it very, very interesting that we have this fire, and this guy got a text from who? He got a text from Michael Cohen. Well, Cohen tells a lot of people a lot of stuff, doesn't he? He's in a lot of trouble lately. He just got raided by the FBI. Here we are in the New York Times, 8 hours ago. Michael Cohen, ultimate Trump loyalist, now in the sights of the FBI. During the presidential campaign, Michael D. Cohen got a Google alert for a breaking story. Russian President Vladimir Putin praises Donald Trump as talented and very colorful. For most American politicians, that article in December 2015 would hardly have been welcome news. But Mr. Cohen, whose role as personal lawyer and fixer for President Trump has been firmly rooted in the transactional world of his boss, saw opportunity. He emailed an old friend who had been talking about seeking Kremlin support to build a Trump Tower in Moscow and sent him the article. Now is the time, Mr. Cohen wrote. Call me. All right, wow, this is interesting. Mr. Cohen's efforts put him under scrutiny in the Trump-Russia inquiries and hinted at the somewhat murky space he occupied in the Trump organization, where his precise duties were unclear. Since then, a series of disclosures have revealed the unusual range of Mr. Cohen's portfolio. Agents at the FBI raided his office and hotel room on Monday, seeking records related to payments made shortly before the 2016 election to two women who claimed to have had sexual encounters with Mr. Trump. The investigation poses a legal threat to Mr. Cohen and possibly his client. Few people closer to Mr. Trump have more knowledge of what the president have been involved with over the years. Okay, so we've got this guy, Mr. Cohen, all right? And he knew about the fire. Somehow in all this other stuff, the FBI just raided his office, and he still had time to save his buddy, Bethany Frankel's boyfriend, you know? And, you know, maybe he was just, look, these people are humanitarians, right? Maybe he just needed to call him and tell him, hey, get out, get to Bethany, drink your tea, you know, whatever. I don't know. But Mr. Cohen seems to be involved in a lot of stuff here. In private, Mr. Cohen has compared himself to Tom Hagen, the smooth consigliere to the mafia family in the movie The Godfather. His detractors have used other descriptions, with one longtime Trump associate saying that the words finesse and Mr. Cohen have rarely been yoked together in a sentence. If nothing else, the federal investigation, which has also drawn in a tabloid company friendly to Mr. Trump, has cast a harsh light on a partnership that until recently at least worked out well for both Mr. Cohen and Mr. Trump. Mr. Cohen, who met Mr. Trump nearly two decades ago when he bought units in several Trump buildings in New York, later played the role of point man and advisor on some of Mr. Trump's efforts to expand his brand internationally. Mr. Cohen also became his boss's go-to guy for cleaning up messes, from local zoning disputes to negative stories. The lawyer seemed to relish his reputation as Mr. Trump's pit bull and embraced an aggressive, some say bullying, approach to solving problems. Okay, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this article, so Mr. Cohen's in a lot of trouble, right? And if you're watching the mainstream media, they're saying, well, Trump's bound to get arrested through this now. Anyway, this is going to be the damning thing. This is the this is the new Russian collusion thing that we found. Okay, but it's not just Russian collusion. This guy paid off Stormy Daniels, right? Mr. Cohen's efforts to silence the pornographic actress Stephanie Clifford, known as Stormy Daniels, began as early as 2011 when he threatened legal action against a tabloid website that tried to publish her story. During the 2016 campaign, he said, he decided on his own to draw $130,000 from a home equity line of credit and pay Miss Clifford to keep quiet, channeling the payment through a limited liability company. Okay, I want you to really, really let that sink in again, because we're going to talk about this. During the 2016 campaign, he says, he decided on his own to draw $130,000 from a home equity line of credit. That's a desperate move, folks. Keep that in mind. And pay Miss Clifford to keep quiet, channeling the payment through a limited liability company. Well, we talk about LLCs all the time. Good Lord. All right. So, has this ever happened to him before? Let's talk about that real quick. There's so much to talk about with this guy. Well, another payment that the FBI is said to be investigating for $150,000 was made by American Media Incorporation, the parent company of the National Enquirer. The tabloid business bought the rights to the former Playboy model Karen McDougal's story, alleging an affair with Mr. Trump, and never published it. David Pecker, now the chairman of AMI, was the chief executive of Hatchet in the 90s, and for a time published Mr. Trump's in-house hotel magazine. I'm not sure if you see where we're going with this, but look at this. So we had another payment, but this wasn't a payment to pay anybody off. This was a payment that the FBI is investigating, about $150,000, made by this media company that was the parent company of the National Enquirer. The National Enquirer, I don't know how big they are nowadays. I don't live in the States, but it was big in the 80s, I know, in the big 80s and the 90s. And that was the stories. If you remember, Trump always says, and he says it publicly all the time, all the tabloids used to love me. All the magazines used to love me until I ran for president. Interesting, yeah? So they're investigating this media company, parent company, National Enquirer. They bought it a long time ago, didn't use it, never published it. Wasn't important, didn't matter. He wasn't running for president. You see what I'm saying? Let's keep moving on to this, because I think there's a little bit more that I wanted to talk about. Yes. On Monday, as news of the FBI raids broke, the Times reported that Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III was looking into a $150,000 donation to Mr. Trump's charitable foundation from a Ukrainian billionaire that was solicited by Mr. Cohen during the 2016 campaign. In addition, Mr. Mueller has examined Mr. Cohen's post-election role in forwarding to the administration a Ukraine-Russia peace proposal pushed by a Ukrainian lawmaker. And Trump-Russia investigators have also examined the 2015 Moscow deal that Mr. Cohen pushed at a time when his boss was campaigning for the Republican nomination for president. Okay, there's a lot of stuff here, isn't there? This Cohen guy sounds like he's wrapped up in Russia. Why would he pay this lady? Okay, Stormy Daniels. He paid her this money out of his own equity line of credit to shut her up. Look, if Trump needs to pay this woman off, he can pay her off. And according to the story, wasn't she paid off one time already? Was she looking for more money? What's going on? Is this the story? Or is there another story, folks? Is this the damning evidence that's going to bring Trump down? I mean, forget North Korea, folks. Forget the border. Forget the deep state. Forget the pedophilia. Forget the Satanism. Forget the reptilian whatever. Folks, Stormy Daniels is going to bring him down. Gonna bring him down by ways of Michael Cohen. Or, folks, could it be possible, excuse me, that this right here is what I would call a rat trap? Do you understand what I'm saying? So this TV star's boyfriend got foreknowledge. Right here in the New York Times. It says. Got foreknowledge. Gave him a text message. Get out of the building. How did he know? How did he know that was coming? Why was there such a manageable fire? Folks, I told you it was a dangerous fire. I didn't tell you it was out of control. They knocked it down. Remember? They knocked it down. They were able to rush in. Folks, if you've got a flat-out home fire, you don't bust doors down. They made a whole movie regarding why you don't bust doors down. I think you see what I'm saying, right? They heroically busted it down because they could stomp it out. You could smother it. I'm not saying it wasn't dangerous. Somebody died. I'm just saying, it's a little fishy. I smell a rat. Folks, you want to pay off a lady? You want to get her out? You pay her off. You do it right. You finish it. This to me sounds very crazy. Why would this guy Cohen go through his own line of credit when Trump's got deep pockets? Trump could pay this lady off easy. Why is he taking it out? Folks, the point I'm trying to make is that with this and his raid today on his office, looks to me like more cleaning house. Looks to me like they set a rat up. You understand what I'm saying? This fire wasn't done by the rat. This fire was to catch the rat. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you. Those are your Q posts. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. I always appreciate it. Your comments and concerns are always appreciated as well. If Q posts anything in the coming hours, I will do my best to get it up to you as timely as possible. And until next time, this is Sir Patrick Mack. Stay aware.